this is for the ministers, and I don't know which one wants to respond, but, there was a letter that came out yesterday and from the Fraser Valley Regional District saying that the federal or the provincial government has failed them, essentially, saying that they asked for emergency funding in response. They didn't get it. They asked for help on the 24th. It didn't come. They're saying they didn't even hear from anyone over the weekend, and that's resulted in a fellow road being destroyed and some homes along the Wilson Road dike being on the verge of falling into the river. They're saying that they asked for this emergency funding, that they needed the money up front, and they didn't get it. But when they asked for it for COVID, it did come immediately. So I'm just wondering what is happening. Like, is the province not providing funding up front like they're being asked? Are you, and they're not understanding the message? Like, what is happening here? And are people getting the money they need?
We've been working with communities right across the province to ensure that they are getting the resources, the funding that they need. And we have seen numerous examples of how that has been working right across the province, from Abbotsford to Chilliwack to Cowichan Tribes to places like Bella Coola. There's a significant amount of resources going to communities. I understand the concern raised by the regional district director. I can tell you that the Minister of Municipal Affairs actually has been in conversation with him this morning. I can also tell you that local government does have authority to undertake emergency repairs. You do not have to get the approval of the province to rent or to get a backhoe. And I've also made it clear that if there are issues that the regional district thinks around communication, my staff will be working with them to ensure that if there are any issues that they are resolved.
Lisa, do you have a follow-up?
My understanding is there's no question about the authority. The question is having the money to back it up, that they don't have the money to float to pay for these, and they're asking for the province to bolster their funds as they have in other areas. So is the province doing that, or is Director Lum just not understanding what's happening? I'm guessing is there just a lack of communication? And as far as communication between the province, I don't know, did he hear from emergency services over that weekend, just not from one of the ministers? Because I know we certainly had a hard time getting hold of people over the weekend directly from government.
What I can tell you is that EMBC staff and ministry staff across government work very closely with local governments in dealing with these emergencies. And as I said, my staff are working with and reaching out to the Fraser Valley Regional District. I can tell you this, that there have been 36 requests for financing or for approvals that have been approved between November 15th and November 30th.
Next question is from Rob Shaw, Check News.
Oh, hi. Just back to Armel from Environment Canada. I know you've given us lots of numbers over the briefings, but I was wondering if you could recap again for us the record-breaking rain in November, then the record-breaking heat at elevations today, and the implications of all of that for us now and into the future.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. There's a lot of numbers to go through. Absolutely. We're going to be crunching them for weeks and months to come. But certainly at this point, we can say a few things. One, that the November 13th through 15th event created record numbers of precipitation, particularly on the Eastern Fraser Valley, including Abbotsford and Hope, seeing their record 24 hours of precipitation at 100 and 174 millimeters respectively. We are also seeing that Abbotsford has broken its November totals for precipitation by 99 millimeters. So a huge departure from the previous record going back many, many years. We are also tracking Nanaimo, Victoria, Vancouver International Airport, and Abbotsford having broken their seasonal precipitation numbers for September, October, and November all combined. So without question, this has been a very active streak since mid-September on the heels of an extremely wet, dry, and hot summer. So we have gone from some extremes to other extremes. And unfortunately, this is consistent with what climate change has been projecting for all parts of Canada, including the mid-latitudes here in BC. It's not to say that it's always going to be this extreme all the time. I mean, we will see lulls, of course, but the frequency, the amplitude of these events and their longevity individually will continue to increase with the coming years and decades.
Rob, do you have a follow-up?
Great, thank you. But also on the record-breaking heat at elevations, like what? Sorry, what would the implications of that be? If it melts the snowpack, do we see that immediately? Is there a lagging effect there? Where does it kind of manifest itself, and how worried do we need to be about that, not only today but in the days ahead?
Please.
Yeah, that's a great question, Rob. Again, the heat is not just at the valley bottom; it's certainly going up to mountaintop heights. So any snow that has occurred in the past several weeks, including ahead of the mid-month event and since, is not extremely thick. So a thick snowpack, as David Campbell will also say, can absorb a lot of rain. These rain events can, be muted up at elevation. When the snowpack is thinner, it's closer to being melted. And so an event like this can actually melt a lot of snow. And that's when we're starting to see values not only on the coast, but into the interior, where an addition to the rain is the snow melt. And it can happen very quickly, especially considering how saturated all of the soils are as a result of having such a long period of wetness. And therefore, the impacts from that snow melt are very, very close to on hand and add to the rainfall totals. Beyond that, of course, being delayed in any given winter for the start of the snowpack could have some implications, but we are really just starting that whole snow period. Parts of the rest of the province are being buried with snow. Stewart just got over 50 centimeters in the last couple of days. We will be entering into a La Nina winter. So come mid to late December, the deck is essentially stacked that we would see cooler conditions through January, February, March, and perhaps even April. And that could spell, a bolstered snowpack down to lower or mid elevations.
Mira Baines, CBC. Mira Baines, CBC.
This question is for Minister Farnworth. A report released today by the Centre for Policy Alternatives shows the province was warned in 2010 that the Rivers Forecast Centre was both understaffed and under-resourced and unable to provide effective flood risk assessment. Staffing levels have remained the same for now, and this report claims that the Forecast Centre was slow in issuing warnings ahead of this month's devastating floods. Why do staffing levels at the Forecast Centre remain so low compared to neighboring provinces and states? And how do you respond to the criticism that the Forecast Centre was slow to issue warnings this month?
Thank you, and I'm familiar with this report that you're talking about that was done in 2010. I can tell you that since that time there has been significant changes in terms of technology and the information that they're able to do and work with. I can tell you the River Forecast Centre does an amazing job, and we have incredible individuals who do extraordinary work. And they were absolutely doing their job in alerting communities to the situations on the stream flow and river flow forecasts that we are facing, not just in this event, but in events that are taking place throughout the year.
Follow up, Mira?
Yes. Minister Farnworth, there's recently because of the failure of orphan dikes that are maintained by any government jurisdiction. In particular, I'm talking about the area near Kiramios. Will the province invest in maintaining these dikes?
That's one of the reasons why we have undertaken a flood control strategy, and that work has been underway within the Ministry of Forests, and that deals with issues of dikes. And obviously, the issue of orphan dikes is of significant importance. It's also why that work will also form part of the changes that are coming in terms of the Environmental Protection Act overhaul that has been currently underway, initiated within my ministry. It's why we signed up to the Sendai framework. framework in terms of how we approach disaster management and emergency response. We're the first province in the country to do that. All of those things feed into those fundamental changes so that emergency preparedness and approach in terms of dealing with disasters doesn't just focus on response and recovery, but very much also focuses on the other two key pillars that have to be recognized, which is prevention and mitigation.
Next question is, oh, sorry, Mira, do you have a follow-up? Did I already ask that? I'm sorry. Richard Zussman, Global News.
On that CCPA report, Minister, is there a commitment to hire additional staff, or based on the answer you gave to Mira, are you confident that the Forecast Centre can do its work with current staffing levels?
We have incredible staff working in the River Forecast Centre. They do incredible work. But like after any event, such as we've seen, whether it's wildfires, heat dome, or floods, we obviously do a review of what has taken place, always trying to identify gaps or areas where we can improve. It's also why we've undertaken, as I just mentioned, that significant rewrite of the Emergency Program Act, so that we look at all aspects of preparedness, response, and recovery to ensure that we've got the best framework in place.
Follow-up, Richard?
So, Minister Fleming, I know the situation is dynamic. Can you talk to me about what you're looking at for Highway 3 between Abbotsford and Chilliwack in terms of reopening? What sort of assessment must be done before the reopening is done? And is there any broad sense of timing based that we still don't know what's going to unfold with the weather later today?
Yeah, in terms of decisions around reopening Highway 1 in the Fraser Valley, we're going to have to get through the storm event. We're monitoring it. We put some emergency infrastructure in place to protect that stretch of Highway 1. So the dam systems are working. They're keeping water in previously flooded areas after the first major storm event that put it underwater, that then receded. We're basically trying to protect a condition to reopen Highway 1 as soon as we can, but it's too early to make a commitment to the public. We have to get through this rain event. We'll make assessments, and we'll advise on what a timeline will look like. We got to get through. We got to get through today, and then we got to get through tomorrow. But we'll be basing that on what we're seeing on the ground. But for now, the Tigre dams and the infrastructure that people worked, I was going to say Sunday night, but it was 4:15 in the morning when they completed installing that. All hands on deck, all kinds of agencies coming out, First Nations, local government, working with regional district, working with MODI staff, working with contractors. For now, it's working, so that means that Highway 1 will be usable that much more quickly because those steps were taken.
Next question is from Stefan Labbe, Tri-City News.
This is for Minister Fleming. As you know, a temporary rail bridge has been built over the destroyed Highway 1 near the Tank Hill landslide. Can you tell me how stable this structure is given the recent floods and saturation in the area, and how long these temporary fixes will remain in place going forward?
Yeah, no, thank you. Certainly, the railways are reporting really good progress under very difficult conditions, which is a couple of storm events. They've been working through that, just as our crews have been working through on the number 5, breaking rock, protecting the remaining usable portions of the Coquihalla. So they're to be commended. They've thrown a lot of resources and crew at it. In terms of a inspection update, I don't have that for you. I could ask perhaps Paula Cousins from the ministry to see if she has anything to add that would be useful for you.
Go ahead, Paula.
And continue to carefully monitor this site, and the temporary repairs are holding up thus far and anticipated to hold up through this event. There are engineering works and other planning in place for a permanent solution at that site, but it is anticipated to take some time.
Stefan, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I've got another question for Mr. Farnworth. On November 20th, you said Environment Canada told you they would release an atmospheric river ranking system by early January. now the ministry is saying that won't happen for years. Can you tell me who at Environment Canada told you this ranking system would be ready so soon?
Thanks for the question. The ranking system, it was reported in the I think one of the Times columnist in detail, based on some conversations with a senior scientist with Environment Canada. The bottom line is this: is that Environment Canada is working on that ranking system. We're very happy that they are. I'd like to see it, and I expect that it will be a priority. But the fact that it will not be ready in January will not detract from our ability to be prepared to ensure that we have as robust a response as required. It will be an additional tool. It's one that we are obviously very excited about. But if it's going to take some additional time, then obviously, that's what has to happen. But as I said, it's not going to detract from our ability to do the job that we need to do.
We have time for one more question today. Shannon Waters, BC Today. Shannon, are you there?
Hi, I'm wondering if you can tell me how many requests in total the ministry has received for assistance from local governments. You mentioned that 36 have been approved. How many in total have been received, and how many have been rejected by the province?
That was for the Fraser Valley Regional District. I can tell you we work very closely with local governments to ensure that we're able to get the resources, the assets, the equipment that they need to their communities as quickly as possible.
Follow up, Shannon?
So the 36 are for the Fraser Regional District specifically. Are you able to say how many requests from the district have been rejected? There's been a couple of suggestions that, say, pay for volunteer firefighters has been denied by the province, and I'm wondering if there are any other figures available related to the regional district's operations.
Yeah, in terms of the Fraser Valley Regional District, I think it's, as I said, 36 requests from them have been approved. 2 additional requests arrived today. I do know that in the terms of that one around the firefighters, that one is being reassessed. And then I know that there were 6 that were not accepted.